This week on For the Record.
A successful budget will be to provide us with everything that we asked for and none, and I'll repeat it again, none or zero vacant positions being taken.
We talk with Dane County Sheriff Kalvin Barrett about what a budget shortfall could mean for his department. Plus,
I think there's a real opportunity right now for attorneys general to do a lot of important work.
Putting rumors to rest. Attorney General Josh Kaul announcing he will not be running for Wisconsin's next governor. Instead, why he's seeking re-election. And later, we sit down with Madison's mayor as she unveils her 2026 executive operating budget. What it could mean for your wallet. That's all coming up this morning.
We now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Elly Laliberte. Well, Dane County Sheriff Kalvin Barrett says if he doesn't get more staff, the new county jail might not be able to open. With a $31 million budget shortfall, the county is looking at saving money by not filling vacant positions, meaning the sheriff's department will lose out on 17 deputies Barrett says he needs.
This will impact the sheriff's office in many ways. And number one, it starts with a lot of discussions that have been taking place in regards to taking our staffing, our vacant positions that we have. So the facts that are out there, we actually have 17 vacant positions out of 472 full sworn positions. Now that's about 3.6% vacancy rate, which isn't a lot, but there has been talks and whispers about them taking those positions to help with the budget. We need every single individual, and whether it's a deputy on patrol taking calls or a deputy walking the halls in the jail, or our record staff taking records and getting information to people for civil process information, or whether it's our social workers or mental health workers, we need everyone.
Well, it also looks like you're getting about $400,000 less right now. Again, this is the executive budget. It is not final, but $400,000 less than you requested. However, that does look like it's a little bit more than you got last year. What do you think about that as it stands right now?
I think we all understand that we're going to have to make some concessions in regards to making sure that we help everybody does their part with this deficit, but we cannot sacrifice people and we cannot sacrifice public safety. So there are things that we did take away or do in our part to help with the budget, and that included not putting in for our training expansion, for our training building out in Wanakee. That included some other positions and some other things. So there's a lot that we had to take back or scale back in order to do our part, because again, we don't ask for anything more than what we need to keep people safe.
And so where do you suggest either the personnel or the cuts come from if you were to keep 17 positions? Where would that kind of give and take come from the county, do you think?
That would be up to the decision makers and the stakeholders. I understand that the county board and the county exec has very difficult decisions to make, but I believe that public safety should be a top priority and is a top priority for constituents and for citizens here in Dane County, and that's important to consider when we're making these decisions.
And would your department be willing to give up certain things that are currently in the budget to get those positions?
Absolutely. We've given up plenty. That we did not ask for any new positions, which obviously all of our divisions need new positions to do their jobs. They put those requests in, but we did not send those requests to the county executive because we understand there's a deficit. There were also other things and concessions that we made. We removed, or we did not, or were not approved some jail mail scanning technology, which would help with safety and efficiency in our sheriff's office. So there's a lot of things that we are actually scaling back on or didn't ask for because we were aware that we were in a significant deficit.
What would be a successful budget for your department in your eyes?
A successful budget will be to provide us with everything that we asked for and none, and I'll repeat it again, none or zero vacant positions being taken to allow us to fill those so that we can properly open our new jail that's slated to open in 2027. And if we don't have the appropriate staffing, we're not going to be able to open it. So if the county board decides to start taking vacant positions, we will not be able to open that, and that will be a complete waste of $207+ million of taxpayer dollars. We will also be forced to keep the old, outdated, and borderline unconstitutional city-county building open longer than it needs to be, and we'll continue to reallocate residents to other counties, which is again a waste of taxpayer dollars. So number one, that is something that's very important, that we have to have that staffing to open that. But it will allow us to continue to focus on providing individuals with the help, the treatment, and rehabilitation. Again, we have to make sure that we realize that the jail was built too small. They took a floor off of the jail project about 2 years ago, and that's why we're building a 6-story, 825-bed facility and not the 7-story, 925-bed facility that was originally approved. So when the doors open, we're going to be at maximum capacity at day one.
And so how many staff do you need to make this be able to be up and running?
Yeah, so we actually had a staffing study done with the new jail proposal with the 6-story building in 2023, September, and that told us exactly what we needed. Matter of fact, that staffing study said we actually need additional staffing because in the reduction of the jail project, we took away things that created efficiencies, which now require more deputies to handle those things that once were covered in the original design.
And I also want to talk about something we saw in Madison last week, which was the first confirmed immigration rate, I should say. Can I just get your take on what the sheriff's office policy is on cooperating and communicating with ICE?
Well, obviously, we continue to cooperate with all of our federal law enforcement agencies. We understand that they're law enforcement agencies and they have a job to do. But number one, we will not be involved in any proactive roundups or taking into custody of individuals for ICE or for immigration warrants. Obviously, we've been very clear that we will not take into custody anyone on an administrative warrant alone, nor will we hold someone longer in our jail facility on an administrative warrant by itself. For us to do that, we need an arrest warrant, probable cause, or that warrant that's signed by a judge.
And so I also wanted to ask, MPD says they were unaware of ICE's presence until after they left. Were you informed of ICE's presence?
We were not informed, and that is something that poses a significant concern for us because we have to take into consideration that we do not want there to be any confusion between our law enforcement here in Dane County and federal agents. So it is important for us to be aware of their presence so that there isn't any confusion and we don't mistake them for actually committing crimes. That's why it's so important that they are readily identifiable in their vehicles. They have a clear identification of who they are, and they don't mask themselves.
Oh, I appreciate your time, Sheriff. Thanks for coming on the show
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, that was a condensed version of our interview. To hear the sheriff's thoughts on the jail diversion program, you can find our full conversation up right now on channel3000.com. And healthcare premiums could increase in Wisconsin if the tax credits expire at the end of the year. That's a claim Congressman Mark Pocan made at the state capitol on Wednesday when discussing the Affordable Care Act as the government shutdown officially stretched into a week. Democrats want the credits extended in any stopgap funding measure. Republicans say they're open to negotiating the extensions, but want to address it after government funding is restored.
So we're going to make sure that we're making people understand what the shutdown's about. And just so you know, in Wisconsin, we're not going to feel the shutdown as quickly as other places. I had 85 calls all last week on the shutdown. But I've had, since the beginning of the year to last Tuesday, 14,435 calls about health care. So this is something people really care about.
Now, this was one of Pocan's many stops at home. He also visited the 3rd Congressional District in northwestern Wisconsin on Tuesday. And in response to the visit, Republican Congressman Derek Van Orden's office wrote in a statement to our sister station, WKBT, quote, "If Mark Pocan is so serious about health care and driving down costs, then he should be in Washington funding the government and doing his job. Instead, Pocan is in a district he was not elected to represent, angry that I won't let illegal aliens have government-funded health care when seniors and veterans don't have access to their health care as a result of the Democrats' shutdown." And to the state capitol, Tuesday, Republicans introduced and passed a legislation in the assembly aimed at relieving Wisconsin's housing affordability issues to incentivize builders, realtors, and local governments to speed up the process of building homes by tackling some setbacks. That includes making smaller lots and roads narrower. It also includes fewer sidewalks. Republicans say the legislation is necessary because current regulations are driving up costs.
The average age right now for first-time home buyers is about 39 years old. To buy a median-priced home, you need about $171,000 in income now. That's actually startling to me. So the homes that my parents were able to buy, my grandparents were able to buy, just aren't available anymore.
Democrats introduced an amendment they say would have strengthened the legislation. Republicans ultimately rejected it. Representative Randy Udell of Fitchburg released a statement reading in part, quote, "I hope that one day we will be able to tackle this complex and growing issue with the urgency and maturity it requires." Now, on Thursday, state Democrats introduced 2 bills aimed at easing the financial burden of higher education in the state. The first would provide the universities of Wisconsin and the Wisconsin Technical College System with $10 million each over the next 2 years to invest in student retention. The second would help cover tuition and fees for students in the UW system who come from homes with an income of $71,000 or less after students apply for scholarships. Now to Madison city government. Right now in Madison, there's no age limit on products that can get you high, but a city ordinance is looking to change that to 21 and up. Marijuana is illegal in Wisconsin, but hemp, which is a part of the same plant family, can have psychoactive effects. Madison Common Council President Regina Vitiver proposed that ordinance you just saw at Tuesday's Common Council meeting. It updates the age restriction and requires businesses that are selling these products to be at least a quarter a mile away from places like schools and playgrounds. Both of these only impact sales, not possession.
Right now, THC products are a little bit of the Wild West. There is no regulation over them. The state legislature has started a process. We don't know how long that'll take. We don't know how divisive that will be. But in the meantime, a lot of municipalities around the state are taking action to try to protect our citizens from these products that are totally unregulated at this point.
The proposed ordinance will go to 2 different committees before it will head back to the Common Council on November 25th. Coming up on For the Record, teacher turnover is on the decline, what the trend looks like and what spurred it when we come back.